So I think I'm going here. I'm not going to start saying anything important for a little bit. So if you happen to be in here already, then hello, welcome. But if you're not here, you haven't missed anything yet. So yeah, okay. So thanks. I guess this is in order. I think if I'm reading this right, it looks like maybe Hannah and Alex just responded to the forum thing I sent out. So thanks for checking in. I'll probably keep sending these out every now and then. I have the headphones on in case anyone wants to talk in the Discord voice chat. I don't totally know how that works, so I've never used it before, so I don't know. Um, like it says I'm connected. Oh yeah, okay. It's like you can share screens through here too, so that might be convenient. Yeah, okay. You know, let me close Slack out because I'm not going to need that for a bit. But I will keep the Discord open, obviously. Oh, there's like a little OBS menu here. I can do that without pulling up the thing. That's nice. I like that. Oh, 9 viewers. Hello. Thanks for joining me. I have the headphones on in case anyone wants to talk through Discord with the voice thing. I think that my feeling is if you had something to say, you could just say it that way, or type it, or as you've done. So hi, Allison, and I think that was Hannah, and Alyssa, and Rhiannon. Hello, welcome. Alexandra, or I always forget if you prefer Alexandra or Alex or whatever. But anyway, hello. It's good to see you all, sort of, or to see your names on a screen, I guess. I think it's important to keep on Connor too. Um, uh, so yeah, I think it's important to have visual communication whenever possible. As we're dealing with the all the disconnection right now. So at some points, okay, cool. Thanks, Alexandra. I will remember that. So it's either through these Twitch streams or through some kind of chat that we can all participate in. I think it's going to be important going forward, right? I mean, I think that you all have individual projects that, of course, we should talk about individually and connect with, but um, just having a place to be at the same time, I think will be good. At least for me, it'll be good to have. It's good for me to have a schedule. Like I get when I have time off, from school, I have a hard time keeping a schedule and kind of not getting kind of lonely and depressed, honestly. So this is something that will keep me going and hopefully keep you all going as well. So it is weird with the headphones on. So if no one's going to join me in this chat, I might take them off because it's like I can hear my voice in a weird way. But if you do want to join on the voice channel, do that. Just don't. I would not recommend having both audio because the live stream there's about a 5 second lag on that, and that would be kind of confusing to listen to both of those. So, a couple things that I thought we might do today. First of all, it looks like a couple of you had a chance to respond to the Steve Ramsey prompt in Canvas. So I wanted to take a look at that and respond to that a little bit, and invite anyone else who wants to do that to continue doing that as well. All right. So this is the place for all of our discussion now for like asynchronous discussion. This is a good place to put these kind of thoughts, especially. I mean, we've been using it for reading notes. Of course, you can keep using it as a notes kind of thing, but it's also an opportunity for us to, reply to have a conversation with a kind of a longer form thing. So for example, like I was kind of curious because Allison, I'm not really sure what you mean by this, so I wanted to kind of follow up and give you a good chance to clarify, maybe. So uh, I'm not sure. I see that the same way. Can you say a little more? I mean, I think this. it's probably something there. I that's not the takeaway I would have from that. So that I'm curious how what led you to that. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can follow up there if you want, or somewhere else if you want. That's fine. But I thought, Shannon had a nice summary of it, especially near the end here, that it has to do with questions. And Steve Ramsey is coming up with several different kinds of questions that he thinks we could be asking when we're doing literature, when we're studying literature. And what he's really trying to do at this point is just talk about the different kinds of questions and the different kinds of truth we get. And so, um, yeah, as you say here, Shannon, like the providing another alternative reading, like we're trying to proliferate readings, really. We're not trying to solve the problem of a book. Like we're not trying to reduce it to a single yes or no answer, like single yes or no as an answer to some question, because there's no questions that would really get to that, at least not the interesting questions. And so I think that's the idea of like otherness, like that there's proliferation, that there's more that we can do with it. So I think this is what he's about, and this is what I'm interested in too, that we should be looking for new readings of text, and computers can certainly make that possible. So, again, this is the last sort of formal reading that I'm going to be putting forward to you all. So I think it's useful, and I want to make sure that we understand, that you all understand how it could be used in your projects. And this is one idea. Essentially, if we believe Steve Ramsey here, he's essentially validating or giving us some grounds to make a case for for potentially any reading. Like we could, as long as we're using a computer to support what we're doing, if we're saying something interesting, then to me that's completing the goals of the class. So it's making sure you're saying something interesting that can be, kind of hard sometimes, but that's what we can work on. And also working with computers can be kind of hard sometimes. So that, of course, is something we can work on. But in that troubleshooting vein, then that's something that I would be interested in doing. I haven't I've never used the voice channel before, so I don't know if you'll show up if you're on the voice channel, or if I will just suddenly hear you if you start talking. So um, I guess, oh, you know what? I'm muted. Maybe I need to go up higher. I had it on mute on my headphones, so if someone was talking, I would not have heard it, but I don't think you were. Anyway, I've got that there, so use it, I guess, if you want. I'm at home, by the way. You can probably tell that this is not the HCC. This is my basement. Um, it's, like most basements, kind of a mess at the moment, but it's fine. This is where my kids do a lot of their homeschool stuff. Like our back over there is the sort of art area. The previous owners of this house had it built. I think they had the idea that I think they were planning to sublet this basement as a separate apartment, but they didn't quite finish it. So there's no plumbing over there, but it used to be. I think that's the cabinetry that used to be up in the kitchen, and then they redid the kitchen before we got here, obviously. I'm trying to set up shop and like a streaming kind of office place in the other unfinished part of my basement, which is over there, because that'll give me more privacy. Like right now, I had to ask everyone upstairs to be quiet, but if I go back over there by myself, I won't have to worry about that too much. Um, okay, so it says, so Bianca's saying I should be able to see a list of everyone in the voice channel. Okay, so I don't see anyone, so that may mean no one's there, which is fine if you don't want to do that. And then, okay, so that, and then, yeah, thanks. Well, right, feel free to do that if you want. I think that might be more useful in like one-on-one conversations. So I don't know how it will go as a group, and it looks like most of you downvoted that option anyway in Discord. So hey, that's fine. That's why I put it out there. Okay, so moving ahead, I mean, with Ramsey, I think the three chapters are pretty good. The fourth and the fifth chapters get kind of weird to me. Like they kind of go off on some interesting directions, but not necessarily as useful. And so in terms of using things or getting things that you can build on, there's a pretty interesting one in the potential readings chapter, and that's kind of what Shannon was alluding to in that discussion there. This idea that you can do other things than just the traditional problems of literary analysis. And there is a long work. It's kind of long, I guess. The what is it called? I could just find the link, but what is it, deformance? The McGann and Samuels essay, and I mean, how am I doing this? I should just be able to pull it up from the list, from the discussion page for it. I am giving you. I wanted to say these. I'm giving you these out of order in terms of when they were written. But I do recommend starting with Ramsey because I think he's pretty thorough, and then go to Samuels and McGann, and then Mark Sample at the end. Yeah, here it is. So let's see. There we go. All right, so this kind of this is earlier. I want to say this is 2000, early 2000s. I'm blanking on the date, but uh, it's earlier than Ramsey. I'm pretty sure, and this is like a bit more formal, but like Jerome McGann is like a classic old school textual studies scholar. I don't know Lisa Samuels that well, but Jerome McGann is very much like one of these like old school kind of guys. So and yes, I mean, like for the readings that we've got assigned, like you can do the forum and you can use the discussion page in Canvas if you want, or your blog if you want. But this is as far into the reading list as we're going to go. The ones that I've posted so far on the discussion. So that's um, Ramsey, McGann, and Samuels, and then Mark Sample, and then post about that wherever you feel like. Um, but anyway, so Jerome McGann is his big contribution to the field of textual studies, which is this way that we study text, like the corpora that you're preparing right now. He was his big thing was the social text or the sociability of text, and like understanding how there is like the problem that a textual scholar is trying to work on isn't just sort of figuring out the best version of a text. That's how textual scholarship used to proceed, and the classic example is the Bible. So when people are looking at the canonical Gospels, or the what's the word? There's within the Gospels in the New Testament, there's three that are similar to each other: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and they have a lot of the same stories in each of them. And so a textual scholar's job is to figure out like which came first, like which was influenced by which. And when you do that, you can find the pieces that appear. There's certain stories, certain chunks of text that appear in all three, and some that appear in just one. And then from that, there is a theoretical missing gospel. There's an idea that there was a earlier gospel, even earlier than Mark, that Mark was influenced by it. So it's interesting, but that's what textual scholarship traditionally is. But Jerome again is saying that we as readers, we as critics, actually perform a really important role in creating the text that we work with. And one of the activities that he came up with is something he calls the Ivanhoe game, where you kind of play out different roles in the process of interpretation. It's kind of a role-playing game around reading literature, if that makes sense. And I don't know if it makes sense, honestly. I've never actually done it. There used to be like a video game version of it, like software, like a Java app that you could install and play, but I haven't been able to get it working. Um, anyway, Jerome again, interesting guy, and but this idea of deformance is what he's talking about in this case. Jerome again in the 90s did a lot to transition the humanities computing into kind of what we now call digital humanities. He was a really important figure in that, in the literary side especially. And so this idea of deformance is more from his literary theory angle than his digital side, but it gives us some things that could be pretty useful and interesting. And you can see Mark Sample take that a step further in his blog post. So I kind of think of that as the last thing because it really sums up everything else that Mark Sample is kind of writing in response to Steve Ramsey, but saying we should go further in terms of what Jerome McGann was originally saying. So I'm explaining all that to show you how the network of citation here, how that works. And then as you are producing your own work, you can trace those steps back yourself as well. That's the idea. And that's what I would like to see you doing in the discussion threads if possible. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing right now that we're working through. The other thing, the main thing you should be working on now is your corpus, your corpora, the plural. So I would like to hear how that's going, and I don't know the best way for you to talk back to me is, but I mean you can type in either the I'm gesturing over here because that's my computer that has the stream information going. If you have any updates on your corpora or any problems you run into, especially, I'd love to help troubleshoot some of that on the stream if possible. Or you can reach out in Discord, or you can pop in on the voice chat, I guess. And I think with the voice, I don't know if this is connected to the voice thing or what, but I've only seen it here. It looks like you can share screens. So if you're having an issue with a particular file, then you can show me what it looks like on that screen, I guess. So let's try that maybe. that's the main thing. Like you should be working on the corpus. After that, we're going to then the bibliography comes after that. Methodologically, we can also start working on what your actual toolkit is going to be in terms of breaking it down and actually doing the work. Oh, and that's great. So Hannah and Alyssa are going to be zooming together. That's great. I can join you if you want. I mean, I'd be happy to. Zoom is good for small groups like that. So let me know if you want to do that. I mean, we could even do that. I mean, you could do it at 2 if you want, or what. But I'll probably stream again at 2. So maybe we could. I mean, you two can do whatever you want to, but let me know if I can help. Um, what I was gonna say, yeah. So working on corpus, and let me know how it's going. It's Yeah. I mean, due dates don't really mean anything at this point, but I do want to see that soon so that I can so I can give you feedback. And also, I think if you can get a decent corpus together, then you can definitely do something interesting with it. There's almost always something interesting to do with a corpus once you have it. Um, hmm. So interesting. Okay, so a couple of questions and issues. So Rhiannon is noticing that the website is that she's downloading PDFs from is limited to 5 per day. Um, I mean, that does that. The nice thing in a way is that that gives you a definite scope. Like you will not have to ask yourself if you got too much or too little because you can only get that exact amount. So that's sort of a nice problem in that sense. What site are you? Tell me what site you're using, and there may be a workaround for it. If it's, I mean, so when a website tries to do that kind of thing, like to say you've already done something too many times, it usually does it 2 different ways. A Z library, I'm not familiar with that one. I think you mentioned that before, but I don't think I actually looked at it myself. But if it's so either it's putting a cookie in your browser and saying this browser has done this too many times. It's probably IP blocking though. It's probably like your IP address has done this too many times. And if that's the case, I mean, there's different ways you can spoof an IP address or get a different IP address. Um, yeah, I mean, you can. I don't know. I mean, UMW has a VPN, and that's kind of the most reliable way to change your IP address. But I don't know if students have access to it or not. Um, Probably not, or at least not usually. But since things are all remote right now, that might become possible. Um, I don't know. Let's see. Usually you have to go through training to get VPN access. Like you have to. It's really easy. It's just like a slideshow you watch and then you click something. But I think I had to do that to get VPN access. And now that I have it, then I can do VPN access through Cisco. Oh yeah, Brave, right. So Brave is interesting. It's a good idea. Uh, Brave is that software. It's a browser. I think I have it installed here that lets you do tricky stuff like that sometimes built into it. I have not done much with it actually, other than um, just installing it essentially. But you can do various things like connecting through Tor with it, which that might work. Um, yeah. Um, that's Alex, right? If you, I mean, there's Tor. I can try that. Now let's just test this out. So let's see. That's the one I just opened. So you know what? I'm not gonna actually. I was gonna look up what my IP address is right now, but I'm not gonna do that on a live stream because I feel like that could be risky. So I'll check this later, or someone you can, um, and somebody can say like I'm just wondering if this simple act of switching to this Tor window um, actually changes the IP address. It says it hides it, so that probably means it's just serving up a random one. So that's might be a workaround, Rhiannon. I don't know. I mean, you can try that, but that said, I think you're like at some point you have to just sort of say you've got enough. Like at some point you're going to have to say that this is a big enough corpus at this point. So yeah, and Allison, Alyssa was talking about doing a Zoom conference with her and Hannah to troubleshoot or work through some things with their projects, I think. And I'm happy to do that too. Um, but yeah, you all can set that up if you'd like to just talk amongst yourselves. That'd be great. Either way, just want to be helpful. Okay, so any other were there other issues?